Yo, what's going on guys? Today we're going to take a look at the queen of mousepads, the Glsswrks Akari. A quick disclaimer, this video is not sponsored and I bought this mousepad for 120 euros at Max Gaming. Taking a closer look at the packaging first, the Akari comes in a simple black box with the Glsswrks logo and a protective foam inlay. On the side of the box you can find a sticker that will already tease you which number you got, as this was limited to 550 units, so in my case I got number 392. The Akari comes in at a size of 490 by 420 mm. It's 3.7 mm thick and weighs about 1.6 kilos. Taking a look at the design next, which I personally find to be absolutely beautiful, you can see that it has a monochrome color palette and some golden accents, as well as small details like the Glsswrks logo in a choker. I find the anime design to be executed very tastefully, especially when you compare it to what some other brands are releasing, for example Yuki. The only design choice that I personally don't really like is like the logo being in the top left corner, and I think it would have been cooler if you would have the unit number and the logo on the back, maybe like on the rubber base like Pat Smith is doing it, but maybe that's just me. And speaking of which, when we flip this thing around we find the base, which is a large rubber sheet with this hexagon pattern that sticks really nicely to your desk, and I personally didn't have any issues with it moving at all. For the corners of the Akari, these are rounded, and I think the transition between the clear glass edges and the frosted surface is executed very nicely. There's a slight bump when you go over with your fingers, but in use it's definitely not noticeable. At first I was concerned about needing a sleeve, but even when sweating, like my arm didn't stick to the pad at all. Can't even describe it in words how smooth it feels. It's almost like there's absolutely no texture, which I personally find to be super pleasing, and it's not abrasive, nothing like that. And while having such a smooth surface, this definitely translates to the static and dynamic friction in my opinion. Both of them feel super low, and for me personally it felt like a cheat code to perfect micro adjustments and tracking with like almost no effort. And now you can maybe think that it might be hard to stop your mouse on such a fluid feeling surface, but from my experience the stopping power was no issue at all on this pad, especially like when you apply some light pressure or dig your mouse into the pad or maybe use some different skates. You can actually fine tune the Akari to your liking. And this actually brings me to our next topic. Because one issue I've noticed with glass pads is that your mouse skates, they wear down pretty fast. Especially if you have a mouse like the G Pro and you didn't mod it or anything, you will not have a flat base on it. So your skates will be unusable way sooner. Because mice that don't have a flat base actually have a small hump. So you can only use like 20% of your skate maybe until your base actually scratches against the surface, which can be pretty annoying. And I find this to be pretty important because on something like the ULX, which has a flat base, my skates actually lasted around 6 weeks without any issues. So on my G Pro I had to swap them out every 2, and in my opinion that's a huge difference. And this is also something I would consider as pretty important if you plan on switching to a glass pad. And while testing out many different skates on the Akari, I think that the type of skate you use actually affects the pad's feel super heavily. Full-size PTFE skates like I have on my FR2 right here, they actually feel quite controllable and are pretty quiet. I've also tried PTFE dots from core pads, and in my opinion these are a bit louder, but they give you a bit more feedback, so if you need more control these are actually pretty good. But there's one skate that combines the benefits of like a full-size PTFE skate and the PTFE dots, which are the X-Ray pad Obsidians. In my opinion they strike a balance because they're like not too loud and they give you smooth feedback and a little bit of control. I asked around what the best skates could possibly be for the Akari, and people recommended me the Glsswrks Cyclones. In my opinion they are super quiet and they provide you with the raw feedback, which kind of makes it feel like you play air hockey. Like that's the best way I could describe it, and it feels absolutely insane. Like if you have a glass mouse pad you definitely have to pick up those Cyclones. And also there's one skate that I heard a lot of, which are the TJ exclusive plastics. I have them right here, but personally I haven't tried them yet because they have a pretty long break-in period. From what I've heard these are specifically designed for glass and they last way longer. I personally don't have an opinion on them yet because I just haven't tried them, but if you're interested in that just let me know. Another downside actually correlated to the one I've previously mentioned is that you have quite a lot of buildup of PTFE particles and dust, which leads to the surface feeling bumpy and scratchy at times, and especially while gaming it can be super annoying. I've also noticed that some of the dust and some of the PTFE particles, like after a few days of playing, they cannot be removed with just wiping over with your hands or with a provided towel, and this is one of the things that actually can be quite annoying as well, because you then have to go ahead and get a wet towel or window cleaner. That's personally what I use. Just give it a few sprays and then you just have to wipe it down, and I think this extra maintenance just makes it a bit more fancy, I guess. And even though I had those issues with the Akari, I think it feels so good that I personally can overlook them. This will definitely remain my main mouse pad until I find something better or until I get bored of it, but personally I guess if you want to switch from cloth to glass like I did and you want a relatively quiet surface, I can highly recommend the Akari. If you missed out on the release, don't worry, because Glsswrks already teased a new pad called the Kazemi, which apparently has a higher speed surface and also doesn't have this frosted or matte finish to the surface. In my opinion, the design and the colors look absolutely beautiful yet again. It's supposed to drop on the 10th of July, and if you want to know more about that, maybe go ahead and follow Glsswrks and its owner Takasai on Twitter. I guess that wraps it up for this review, so if you have any questions or feedback, just leave them in the comments down below or contact me on Twitter. I would appreciate every follow and every sub and every like and every share. So thanks for watching and see you in the next one.